you guys. All right, so this is the beginning. So since this is our first meeting, I thought I'd just touch on some things from a high level that you guys are going to want to keep in mind as we move forward. And then as we move forward, we'll start to drill down into some more particular strategies and tactics based on what you guys need help with. And then me and Randy have been talking, and there's a pretty cool opportunity for you guys to get some one-on-one time as well for anything specific that you want to focus on individually. And we'll discuss that a little bit too. So let me just share my screen. And then I whipped up a little bit of a presentation for you guys. And then we'll do some question and answer afterwards. And I definitely want to be respectful of you guys' time, which is a cutoff at the top of the hour if you have to go. I have some more time booked out after that I'm available if Q&A runs over. But if you have to leave, don't feel bad that you're stepping out. I'm definitely want to be respectful of you guys' time. All right, so. All right, can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So there's a lovely business photo of me. And today's outline is going to be pretty simple. We're going to go over some housekeeping stuff. And then we're going to talk about the main theme in everything that I do with my clients, which is attention is everything. Then we're going to discuss what's called the customer journey, which you guys need to understand because different prospects are at different points in the home buying and selling cycle. And your messaging has to be different depending on where they're at in that process. You can't be a one size fits all. And I know some people, they kind of push back on that and they're like, well, won't I lose out on business? The answer actually is no, you won't. People will seek you out because of your expertise or because of how they resonate with you. And then you'll, as a natural, what's the word I'm looking for? As a natural waterfall from that, you'll have other people that will be referred to you and that will see what you're doing. And then because they don't know any better, they will approach you asking for your help in whatever area it is that you want to focus on. We're going to talk about making them laugh, why that's important for whatever you're doing out there on social media, inspiring people as well, and then questions and answered. So Randy did a pretty good job of introducing me. So I'll just run through these really quick. This is actually a really cool photo that I had made into like a Simpsons caricature from when me and my family went to New York a couple summers ago. I think it was 2. So yeah, the guy with the mini afro, that's my son. He's like 20 now. And then you got my wife and then me, and then we got a 11-year-old daughter, Michaela. And then here's one of our dogs, Belle, that I had put in the photo because my wife would have killed me if she wasn't included in the family picture. So I've been married 13 years. I have 2 decades in real estate, primarily on the financial side. I was processing supervisor for one of the largest mortgage companies in the country, where I was directly handling about 1,000 closings a year from start to finish. So if you have any context, the normal loan officer processor might handle anywhere from 10 to 40 files a month, or I was handling anywhere from 100 to 100 plus. And I don't tell you that to like try to impress you guys. I simply tell you that because the reason that that's important is because you don't get to that level of production and being able to handle those types of things without understanding structure, flow, and how to best utilize your time and be efficient. And that's what I'm all about. I'd rather spend my time with my family or mentoring guys or doing other things I care about than business. That's second to me. So if you care about your time, I try to be super efficient, and that's what I'm going to teach you guys how to do and the stuff that we do as well. Fun fact, when I was 21, man, I'm getting old. I signed a contract to play with the Harlem Globetrotters. Never ended up going because it didn't work out for some reasons, but yeah, love basketball, saved my life growing up. And still play like once a week now, but it's not as big a deal as it was back then. And then, as Randy said, I'm huge into men's ministry. For the last 6 years, I've been honored to be part of a ministry where guys come and, we have a camp space or a campground that we run. It has, your kitchen building, places for them to sleep, all of that. But basically, we provide an environment for 5 days for them to get away and really focus on, with no distractions. Like, we encourage them to turn in their cell phones. They don't have to, but we really encourage that. But just to put all that distraction away and focus on how can they become better men, better husbands, better fathers, better providers, better members of their community. And we have processes that we walk them through and questions that we ask them to help facilitate that. And I mean, it's the thing that I'm most in love with right now in my life, because the change that I see when these guys come in from when they leave, and I know that they're taking that now back to their families, is incredible, because I really believe that that's what changes the world. And the reason the world is so crazy today is because for a lot of years, men, unfortunately, for a lot of different reasons, haven't stepped up. And this is one of the ways that I get to help play a small part in that. So it's very cool. All right, real quick, some housekeeping. I don't know where everyone is at in terms of their marketing capabilities, and that's fine. A lot of the stuff that we're going to dive into in the next couple of weeks, it could be new for you, right? It's like learning a new language. So have patience, give yourself time, ask questions if you don't understand something. If I know Randy, he's cultivated an atmosphere where you shouldn't be embarrassed to ask a question if you don't know something. You should be more embarrassed if you don't ask the question and never gets asked and addressed. And then, you move forward from there out of ignorance. Next, these videos will be given to you guys. So you can always go back and you can review them and go through them at another time. If you want to pick up on something, or if you're like, man, I want to try that strategy, or I want to really brainstorm on this, these will be available for you guys to review. And then next, relax. We're all here to grow our businesses, but I like to have fun. I know Randy likes to have fun, and I definitely don't take myself very seriously. That doesn't mean I don't work hard. That doesn't mean I don't execute. And that doesn't mean that I'm not about giving the most amount of value to my clients. But I'm a vulnerable guy. There's nothing that you can't ask me, whether it's real estate or life related. That's just the person I am. So relax and then take imperfect action. A big problem that I see, and I have this problem myself too, that my business coach works on with me, is we always want everything to be perfect. Like, we got to know everything before we get started, and what I've learned along the way, and I'm sure many of you are, because it's a lesson of life, is that nothing's ever perfect. And the most amount of change, the most amount of growth comes from going through the process and enjoying the journey. I'm 42 this year, and I can close my eyes and it's like I'm 16 years old again, standing at the bottom of my grandparents' driveway, because we lived out in the country and they had a long winding driveway back to the house up the hill. And I was like, I'm never going to walk up this hill again. I can't wait till I get my license and I drive. And it was like a week later, I got my license and I was sick of driving already. So things go by like that, moments with our kids, moments with our family. So there's plenty of time to get to that end goal, and we'll get there, but enjoy the journey along the way. And then finally, the one-on-ones, like I mentioned, Randy is going to be offering the opportunity to have one-on-ones with me. If there's something specific that we don't cover and you'd like to address for your business individually and work on, and we can kind of talk through that, whether that's marketing, whether that's systems and processes, whatever that may be. But we'll get you guys a link for that, so where you can sign up for that. And if that's something that you want to take advantage of. Sound good? Awesome. All right, so let's talk about some marketing stuff. So here's a little post I snagged from Facebook, because it's a great example of what the average realtor does. And that's they post something on Facebook to get attention or to try to get attention, to let people know what they're doing. But it's wrong from so many ways. And it's not out of, it's not, I don't think this person in this example, I just don't think they've never been shown, they've never learned, right? So they're like a lot of us when they're trying to do something new, they're just throwing stuff against the wall to see what works. And a majority of it doesn't work because we will tend to project from a place that's about us. Like, look at me, look at the award I won, look at what I'm doing for my clients, look at, you know, the offer that I have going on. And there is a place and a time for that. And I'll kind of dive into that a little bit deeper later on. But for the majority of people, that is not what they care about. People are selfish. Their nature is selfish. We can argue about that all day long, whether that's right or wrong. But I don't care if you think that that's right or wrong or how it should be. It is the way it is. So your primary job and whatever you do when you're putting yourself out there is, am I addressing the question in the person's head that they have? And that question is going to be selfish. Like, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting by stopping and looking at your Facebook post? What am I getting by stopping and watching your video? What am I getting by looking at your Instagram feed, or whatever it is that you're putting out there, whatever type of content that you're sharing with people? So when you make posts like that, that only talk about what you're doing, it's interesting what happens next. You know, a day will go by and you know, clients will wonder, well, I posted something on my Facebook page. Why did I not get any business from that? Then they start the mind game, right? Which is, oh man, okay, should I change my content? Do I need to post more often? What does that look like? Should I give it more time? And in reality, there is no single answer for any one of those questions, because it's going to be dependent. It's going to be dependent on you. It's going to be dependent on what you want for your business. It's going to be dependent on your schedule, you know, and how much time you have to put towards these different things. And then it's going to be, who is your audience? And we're going to get into this in the coming week, is who is your audience individually? Because that's one of the biggest mistakes I see my clients make is, and we talked about this briefly, is they try to make a one size message for everybody. And that's not the way that it works, because people are too complex. And we're going to talk about ways that you can hone in your messaging to attract the people that you want to work with, your ideal clients. And if you've never gone deep and really thought about that, wow, who are my ideal clients? What ages are they? How much money do they make? What do they do when they're not working? What kind of jobs do they have? Do they have kids? Do they have pets? Are they married? Are they single? All these types of things, those things play into the messaging. And that messaging resonates with those people, which then draws them out of a crowd and draws them to you, so that they can get to know, like, and trust you. And then they'll raise their hand when they're ready to move forward, and you will be the obvious choice. And there's, you know, some finer points of the strategy about how we go ahead and do that. So back to this example, you know, when we make those selfish kind of posts, after a few days, we may have 2 likes. One's typically our mom, I joke around, and then one may be, you know, our processor or our transaction coordinator, right? Because it's still not working, because we're not entering the conversation inside the person's head. And then we go, okay, what are the problems with this post? And there's mainly, or what are the problems with advertising in general or marketing in general? Not only in the real estate, I've worked in many niches. So real estate, mortgage, insurance, home inspection, a number of different ones. And there's typically three main problems that I see from a broad perspective. Problem number one is the majority of people using social media are looking to be entertained first and informed second. You really have to understand that. That's important. I mean, just ask yourself, why do you pick up your phone and go on Facebook? You don't go on there to purchase a home. You don't go on there to, find someone to do your loan. You don't go on there to buy a car. You go on there to see what everybody's doing. So you can escape a little bit of reality or whatever is going on in your life. You want to be entertained. If you want to be informed, you may not go on Facebook. You may do a Google search or, go on YouTube and watch a video on how to do something. But it all starts with being entertained. Then it comes with being informed. And we need to learn how to take advantage of that. The second problem that I see is that people, when they post stuff, they forget that the people who are on the platform, for the most part, we're all zombies. And I'll give you two quick examples of this. Think of the last time you picked up your phone to go do something. And then next thing you know, you're on Facebook. And then next thing you know, you look up at the clock and it's 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes later. And you're like, wow, I don't even remember what I picked my phone up for. Right? That's because it's scary, but it's true. They have us conditioned, right, to suck us in and to keep us in that feed on that platform. So from a business standpoint, they can then say to their advertisers, hey, we've got 1 million visitors a month or whatever it is. And now we can sell all this advertising. That's their end goal. They don't necessarily care so much about you. So the people consuming that content, we're all zombies and we're mindlessly scrolling through the post. And if you don't think that that's not intentional, well, then I'm here to tell you that it is. And real quick, I'll give you this interesting, crazy little story. There was an app that used to be available in the App Store. It was called Flappy Birds. It was this dumb little game where you had this bird and it was an 8-bit and you would fly it up and down through these pipes. And if you hit a pipe, you died. Now, when that game first came out, when you hit a pipe and you died, a screen would then come on and would say, do you wish to continue? Yes or no? Well, the owner of that game discovered that if he took that screen away and he just started the game over, that people would keep playing because they felt bad if they stopped. And literally this game was wrecking marriages because people would be on it 3, 4, I kid you, 7 hours at a time. They weren't getting their work done at their jobs, all because of this loop that they discovered psychologically, where if you don't give a person, if you don't snap them out of that trance and give them the option to stop, they're going to continue to do. And we all fall victim to that every single day when we scroll through. That guy then later realized what he had done and felt bad. So he actually took that app off the App Store and he was making over $1 million a day. And he's like, ruining people's life isn't worth it. So that's no longer available, but it goes into a bigger story of we've been conditioned and we need to understand what the rules of this game are if we're going to play this game at a high level, not to take advantage of people, right? But to ultimately help people with what we do. All right, the third problem is you're not giving people a compelling reason for them to pay attention to you. When you post stuff that isn't at the right time, or you say something like, hey, it's a great time to buy a house, please let me know if I can help you. Well, the majority of the people, they're not at that stage, and that's not a very compelling reason for them to respond, especially if they don't know you or they haven't talked to you in a long time. A simple analogy we hear all the time is, you're trying to marry a person on the first date, and that's not the way that it works, as we all know. And it's really not your fault. It's not your fault because when you become a realtor, or I think about when I entered the mortgage industry, and I started as a loan officer, you're taught the skills you need to get the job done. You're not taught the skills you need to bring in the business. Nobody focuses on that. They're just like, here's what you need to know for the test. Here's the rules so you don't get sued. All right, you passed the test. Here's your license. Go out there and figure the rest out. So it's really, you don't know what you don't know. And then that's what I'm here for, is to help you realize what that is. And then hopefully you'll grab onto that, find something you like, something that resonates with you, and then you'll take and you'll run with that. and we'll figure out how to help you make it work. And then the third thing is there's so many options. Do I focus on Facebook? Do I focus on YouTube? Do I focus on TikTok? Do I focus on Instagram? I don't know, because I don't know you individually. I don't know what your style is. I don't know what you're comfortable with. So there is no one answer. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get, there's not one way to get 100 deals, but there are 100 different ways to get one deals a piece. So you just need to figure out what works best for you and stick with that and be consistent. If you are consistent, it will happen. I mentioned earlier that I signed a contract with the Harlem Globetrotters. I played at a small Division III school. I was the worst kid when I started playing basketball in 8th grade. The kids laughed at me. The coach made me play the last guy on the team, or I'm sorry, another guy for the last spot on the team to sudden death, one-on-one. The only reason I made the team and he didn't is because I got to start with the ball first. I drove right because I had no left hand, spun, threw the ball over my head in some crazy Michael Jordan move. The ball hit the top of the backboard and bounced in through the net. That kid fell to the ground and started to cry. I jumped up and screamed, and then went on to ride the bench and get screamed at by my coach for everything, if it wasn't my fault or if it was my fault, for the rest of the season. But that started something inside of me, and I only worked on, really for the rest of my career, mainly 3 main moves. And I would use those moves or combinations of those moves time and time again to score or to set my teammates up or whatever it needed to be. So I didn't need to have this huge arsenal of moves to get to where I wanted to be. And I'm telling you the same thing. You don't need to have all these tricks in your bag to get people to want to do business with you and to get your name out there. You need 1 or 2, you need to stick to them, and you need to be consistent. All right, so we're going to fix any problems that you might be experiencing with your marketing or your marketing content. And really, that comes back to this. If there's anything that you need to remember, write down, make it your mantra, it is this thing, and that is attention is everything. Attention is the currency of the internet. Because if you're not bringing attention to yourself, no one cares. They scroll by. They don't like your photo. They don't comment. They keep going on with their day. So you have to give them a reason to stop. And then that's when it comes to knowing, okay, when I'm trying to get them to stop, am I trying to entertain them? Am I trying to educate them? Or am I trying to ask them to do something? Is this making sense so far, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Okay. So, I'm sorry, what's that? Someone have a question? Oh, okay. All right, so here is a basic funnel, right? And then this takes into account the 3 types of audiences that there are out there. There are strangers, there are friends, and there are family. And now obviously someone can start off as a stranger. They might not know you, right? They get referred to you. They decide to do business with you. And if you're like my wife, who's an agent, right? Her clients love her. They become like her best friends. I don't know. I don't see too many agents like that where they're calling my wife for advice and all this stuff, even after the deal is done. But anyways, they will move towards being your family if you do a good job, and they're not going to want to go anywhere else. We all know this. But you can't treat family the same way that you treat a stranger. And you can't treat a stranger the same way you treat a family member. Or I should take that back. You can't talk to them the same way. All right. So we consider strangers to be cold. They don't know anything about us. They don't know who we are. They're going to come to figure out more about us and who we are, and they will discover that we are agents. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. You do not have to promote that you are an agent. People figure that out very quickly. And then we have our friends, who are our warm audience. And then we have our family, which is our hot audience. And you have to do different levels, or you have to speak to them differently at the different levels. So for example, at the top, when someone doesn't know you If you want them to pay attention to you, 9 times out of 10, you have to entertain them. And that can look like a multitude of different ways. And once again, it depends where you are on the scale of crazy. If you're a 1 and you really hold back, or you're a 10 and you're like, this is me and I'm wild and out there, and whatever word you want to put on it, that's cool. Play in your lane. So clients who are 10s, the way that they get or entertain people, for example, is like they're at an open house and they jump in the pool, right? And they post that online. Or they, were out at a concert and they jumped off the stage. That's their life. They're wild and they're showing that. Clients who are like more on the 1 or 2 level, the way that they entertain is they just share their life. Okay, today I went to church. Cool. Today I'm with my son and I'm teaching him how to drive, or I'm cutting his hair, or we're a family, we're out to dinner, or it's the 4th of July. You're just sharing your life. So there's, you have to figure out, okay, if I'm going to put stuff out there, what type of person am I? Am I a very private person and I'm only going to share a little bit? Or am I like, hey, this is my life. I'm wild and crazy and backflips and bars and whatever that looks like for you. So then from there, you move down. Now people have become attracted to you. They're like, oh, wow, this Mike guy, he's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to pay attention to what he is doing. And then to kind of tie this together, all of the social media outlets, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they care about one thing primarily above all else. And that is, how long are you on their platform? How long do they have your attention for? So if you're creating content, you are now in their role and you are having people consume your content. So the name of the game is, okay, how long can I get them to pay attention to, look at my post, read the text that I put in there, or watch my video? And as a result, all of the social media platforms will reward you for that, which a lot of people don't realize. So to give you a simple example, if you have 100 friends on Facebook and you post something to your personal Facebook feed, Facebook is only going to show that to about 5 to 10 of your friends. Now, if no one comments, Facebook's killing that. They're not showing it to anybody because it's not bringing any attention. It's not creating a good, what they consider, user experience. But if you just posted some crazy picture, I don't know, of some wild time that you had on the weekend with your girlfriends or whatever, and all of a sudden you're starting to get all these comments and people are like, oh my goodness, can't believe it. Facebook is like, okay, we got to get as much juice out of this as possible. So now they start to open it up to the rest of your friends in your friends account. But it goes a step further than that. Then they start showing it to friends of your friends. So people that you might not even know, it's going to show up at the top of their feed when they turn on or when they go into their Facebook app, because Facebook wants to hook them in, right, with something that's hot and then keep their attention from there. So that is what they are doing. So it's always more than just what's going on your feed. It's what's on your feed, and then how can that translate into getting new eyeballs on it from people that you don't know. It's the 6 degrees of separation, if you're familiar with any of that. So once you've entertained people that don't know you and now they're paying attention to you, now you have permission to educate them. And this is when you produce content around your expertise. Okay, these are the 3 things you never want to do once you've been approved for a loan by the bank. And I just know this because that was my job for so long, right? Don't rack up new debt. Don't quit your job, right?
Get married.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, right? And you would be surprised how many people do not know that or even consider that. And you have a wealth of knowledge about things that you know regarding the process. And we all do this. We downplay it so much. We're like, oh, they probably heard that before. I can't be the only realtor that has told them that. Remember my example of picking up your phone and going to do something, and then you land up on Facebook and you don't remember what it was you're going to do 5 minutes later. That's not just your life, that's everybody's life in today's world. So you need to remind them. So anything that you can help them do to either move closer to getting what they want, which is buying or selling their home, or help them avoid pitfalls along the way so that they don't look stupid and they can still get what they want. Those are the two lanes that you want to play in. And a really easy way to do that is just to handle the most common questions that you get from all of your clients. And if you take the time to think about those, or even go back and survey your clients, or just pay attention to the conversations you'll have, you can make a whole list of those things that'll produce content for days that you can use over and over and over again. So once they know you and they're no longer strangers, now you have permission to educate them. From there, once you've educated them and they've seen some of your content, you can now ask them to do whatever it is you want them to do. Hey guys, got this open house coming up. Would really love for you guys to show up and check this one out. It's this Saturday. Here's the time, blah, blah, blah. That's an ask. Hey guys, my mortgage partner has a really sweet product right now that allows you to buy a home with no money down, and they waive the private mortgage insurance. If that's something that you're interested in, send me a DM so that I can get you connected with them. Those are asks. You can't go from somebody not knowing you all the way to asking. It's very rare that it happens. And that's where everybody tries to play at, because they don't know any different. And I'm here to save you guys from that. There is no shortcut, but if you do it right and you're consistent, it's like, raise your hand if you know what a flywheel is. Okay, a flywheel is a component that is in a car, right? And it's hooked up to your transmission. And what happens is it makes that, once it gets going, it doesn't stop and it just runs, right? And then when it's engaged, when you move your car into drive, that's what makes your car move forward. But if you're not in drive, it just continues to roll and it never stops. Well, you can create the same thing in your business with your content and with people seeing you. And that's a flywheel. Once you get it started with a few pieces of content, you can use those pieces over and over and over again once you've identified which ones people resonate with, to continue to create new conversations that eventually lead to new business. All right. All right, 2 more slides for you, and then we'll get into some Q&A here. Okay, I am the guy that growing up, I was the why guy. When my mom told me to do something, when my grandpa told me to do something, when a teacher was explaining something, I was the guy that was like, why? Not because I had a problem with authority, because I really wanted to know why. Like, I wanted to know the deeper reasoning behind this. So I just want to throw this out for you, and I call this the real world effect. So in 1992, if you're as old as me, I was 12 at that time, you will remember that the first reality TV show ever to get worldwide exposure was The Real World on MTV. And it followed these group of people around their entire lives, everything they did, the good, the bad, the nasty, right? All the drama for everybody to see. And that sparked a revolution. And now you fast forward, man, I could do the quick math. What is that? 18, almost 40 years, or sorry, 30 years. And everything on TV is built around reality. Reality is what people have been conditioned for. And if you guys think about your business, I don't care what segment of the population you play in, just like us, they've all been conditioned to gravitate towards reality-based things. They want to see real people's lives. The days of, spending $10,000 to produce a video so that it's high quality and looks like a commercial, those days are over unless you're Coca-Cola or you're Pepsi, and it's completely just a straight branding play. No one resonates with that. No one cares with that. We try to fast forward those commercials on our TV or skip them on YouTube, whatever the case. People want real. They want, let me see someone on the other side of their camera, just showing up as they are, telling it like it is, and then I'll make the judgment from there. So this real world effect has been multiplied with the advent of social media, because now it gives people another layer or another wall that they can kind of hide behind, and they can see you and they're watching what you're doing. They may never like your post, they may never comment on your post, but they're scrolling through their feed and they're seeing your post. And then they're going to your profile and they're saying, oh, this person's a realtor. Wow, I kind of liked what she was talking about. Or, man, that's cool. I like what they were doing with their family. I'm going to pay more attention. And they sit back there and they do what we all do. We lurk and we peep on what people are doing. And we don't bring any attention to ourselves that that's what we're doing, but we're paying attention. And then when we're ready, we can now raise our hand, because we don't have to, because if we stay behind the wall, everyone's biggest fear is, if I raise my hand, and this is when it comes to, I'm making a huge generalization here, when it comes to realtors, if I raise my hand, they're going to call me, they're going to message me, they're going to badger me, and they're not going to leave me alone. And it's not because they don't know you personally, because I bet if they do, they have a different opinion. But if they're a complete stranger, that is the fear that is in their mind, is that you are going to try to manipulate, force, or make them do something that they don't want to do. And once again, I'm not saying that that's right, but that is the sentiment out there in the public when it comes to realtors. And you need to understand that so that we can navigate around that correctly. So that wall of social media protects them, right? They feel safe behind that. But now after they've consumed your content, and then their wife says, yeah, you know what? We should relocate to Houston. Do you know any realtors there? And you're like, oh man, there's this guy I've been watching for the last 3 months. And he really seems like he knows what he's doing. And he seems like he's a great person. I'll send him a message and maybe he can help us out. And then now they step from behind the wall and they raise their hand and they say, here I am thinking about moving to Houston. Would you be willing to help us out? And once again, you can make that become a flywheel where week after week, you get messages like that over and over and over again from people in your community or outside of the community who want to join your community because of what you're doing. And that all goes back to the real world effect and people's obsession now, all these years later, with being voyeurs. All right, so to wrap it all up for today, right, when you're thinking about what you're doing from a high level, remember, people want to be entertained first. Then they want to be educated. So entertain them. Another way to entertain them is if you're a guy who's big on inspiration, or a gal who's big on inspiration, be inspirational. You got to find what works for you and what your audience interacts with and resonates with. And then remember, they do want to learn, but you need to earn their trust first. And you earn their trust by educating or inspiring them. And then they will pay attention to the professional pointers that you want to give. Okay. Quick example I want to show you guys of someone who does this really well. That was a client of mine that you can learn a lot from just by studying her Facebook wall. All right, so before I get into this is Heather Cook. She's a realtor in North Carolina. And you guys, I kid you not, 80% of her business comes from social media. And you'll see why. Now, this wasn't always the case, but this is what I'm trying to give you some vision here, and this is what it could look like. Okay, so a couple pieces of context, right? Heather's been a realtor for a while, I think a decade plus, right? So she knows her craft, right? She knows her craft, which is really important. 2, she's super passionate about rescuing animals. I can't tell you how important that is, because that's the majority of what she talks about. And that's the majority of what she uses to bring people into her world. And then they go to her Facebook page and stalk her, and they see right here, top 1% real estate broker in Charlotte. Okay, maybe they have no context for that. That doesn't matter, but they see she's a realtor. They are going to know she's a realtor. She doesn't have to say, I'm a realtor. Look at me. Do you need a house? Do you need to sell? Do you need to buy? No, she's going to build a relationship with people through her passion, which is rescuing animals. So let's go through her, a couple of her posts here and see. So the third thing I want to point out is because she's been consistent with doing this, she's become a really good storyteller. And I can't tell you how important that is. Think about your life. Think about when we're born, right? And then our parents bring us home. And then we start to interact with the world around us. And we start to get into entertainment, right? We're first exposed to stories. Our parents read us bedtime stories, right? And then we I don't know, depending on where you grew up, but then you see TV. It's all story, movies, all story. So we're indoctrinated from the time we can walk, before we can walk, to resonate with stories. So if you can learn to tell a good story, you will bring more attention to what you're doing. And that's what she does. So this was her husband posting about her. But here's one. Oh, okay. So she's got, she's telling a story, right? She's not just saying like, okay, she's not making a post where she's like, these are people I helped just close their deal. She's like, she goes into more detail about it. What were they looking for? What was their situation? Why did they come to her? I don't think that this is this post. I think that she's just posting about a friend who sent her some business. But let me see here. And I apologize because I didn't go through her feed before I jumped on here. But I do want to find a good example for you guys. All right. So here's one, right? So she's big into rescuing animals. So she shares that, right? And she shared this. This didn't get a lot of action. Here's one about how she closed, right? And then the experience that they had with their own house, right? But you can see, like, because she tells a story, look at all that engagement. She had 59 comments on this post about a closing, because she didn't just post a picture from the closing table and said, well, got another one under the belt. She told the story about what went into it, which it looks like she did more here, right, with this one. Let me see. Trying to find a good one of so here's a decent one, right? She's sharing one about her son. She didn't just say like, happy birthday to my son, Joe, who's 23. She wrote a little story, right? And told people about his life. She's really good. She's become really good at that. And she brings a lot of attention. And once again, it's not that like she's working the system, right? So Facebook saw this post. It started to get a bunch of comments. So Facebook said, okay, this is meaningful to people. We know what other people we have in our network that are separate, that are within maybe not her immediate friends, but friends of her friends, and then friends of those friends. So we're going to start to show this in their feed, because we know that they'll stop and they'll pay attention and they'll read. And that's what's going on. And that's the whole game behind this. So maybe we'll try to find one more. Try to find one about an animal here. Come on, Heather, what's going on? She's got all these dogs. Oh, there's one. Okay, and we'll just stop here. All right, so she brought a rental on out on the beach somewhere, and they've been rehabbing it, right? So now she's telling the story about the wallpaper, right? And she's going into detail. She's got some pictures, her husband, one of her dogs. She's got I'm trying to think of what those dogs are called. What are the very large dogs? Like, they're massive. They're skinny, they have big heads. Help me out here.
Great Dane.
Great Dane, thank you. So she rescued like 3 Great Danes. So if you go through her feed, you'll see stories about that. But what I would do is I would encourage you to go stalk her a little bit and just see the post. And that doesn't mean you got to go and like dogs, but there's something in your life that you're like, man, I'm super passionate about this, that you can use as leverage when you're building up your social media presence, right? To bring people into your world. And if you're like, oh, well, everyone already knows this, you're missing the point. The point is not that they know it. The point is that you're reminding them of that. You're getting them to engage so that Facebook can go find other people who aren't your friends and show that content to them, because Facebook knows that they're probably highly likely to like it as well. And then they will come back to your page and start to peek and snoop and eventually build a relationship with you, so that when they're ready to buy or sell, you are at the top of their mind. They know you, they like you, and because you're sharing what you're passionate about and about your life, they trust you, which is more important, as we know, than anything. So that is it for day number 1 here. Let's jump into some Q&A, and then we'll kind of talk about what we're going to dive into in the next few weeks. Any questions? Anything that you noticed that stuck out to you? I'd love to get some feedback.
I got one. My name is Joseph. How you doing?
Hey, Joseph, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Okay. I seen that you touched upon a couple of different directions. One was doing it in a business level, and then the other one is personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite sure all of the people that we run across on Facebook, on Instagram, we want to follow them like zombies, so to speak. I don't think that they use this method in order to attract people. So do they just do it haphazardly and just find their way through as time goes on? Because what I need to do, in other words, is find a place that I'm comfortable at sharing. That's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to find that method.
Yeah, no. So if I'm hearing you correctly, so you're saying that 1, you need to get to a point where you can share, and 2, you need to find something in your life that you want to share and put out there.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
Okay. Did I get that right, or was there more to the question?
Well, there was a little bit more to the question. In other words, the people that we see daily, like just following them, and they have like, let's just say 500 followers.
Mm-hmm.
Do they use that same method to be able to kind of gauge how their message is going to go out, or do they just put it out there and keep it entertaining? So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, it really depends on who it is, right? So like a Gary V, right? He's doing this all day long. He knows, and he's working that, right? He's producing content that he knows will create attention. I mean, and that's part of who his personality is, right? Like he knows, like his high energy, swearing, telling it like it is, taking a stance against somebody is going to attract the people that he wants to work with. So that's the kind of videos that you see primarily from him. And then from there, and then from him doing that, he's discovered other things, right? Like I know this one that's really popular with him and with his audience is him answering questions from people who just walk up to him and they're like, what should I do with my life? Or I'm 30 and I feel like I missed the boat. And he's like, no, MFer, you're good. You know, you got your whole life in front of you. You know, you need to take some chances. Right. So he's obviously been doing this a long time. So he had to, throw some things out there, see what stuck. And then once he figured out what stuck, he just did more and more and more of that. Same thing with Heather. Like if I went through, if I really dissected her feed, she's probably got 3 main pillars. 1, she talks about her dogs. 2, she talks about her husband and her kids. 3, she sprinkles in a little bit of business, but she doesn't just do like, hey, this is a new listing or just had a closing. She's always in all 3 of those pillars telling the story behind it, going deeper, not just giving the people the shiny, like high shot, like new dress. It's no, got a new dress on. You wouldn't believe, girlfriend, what I had to do to get this. I had to go to this store and that store and, and then try this on. And and she's become good at that. But so let me ask you, when you're not doing real estate, what are you doing?
Well, I live a simple life now, so it's primarily, if I'm not doing real estate, we're remodeling a house right now.
Okay.
Definitely in contact with friends in New York, watching what they're doing.
Yeah.
So real humble now.
Nice. That's cool. Well, so you could talk a lot about remodeling that house. So I got to assume you're kind of a handyman, right?
learning from this lady that was sitting here.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, you could just document that journey, you know. I mean, I'm not especially handy. I mean, I've got some barn doors that I built for my wife in the house that have been sitting in my garage for 3 years, and I just hung up the first one, and now I got to find the parts to hang up the second one. So you could tell that story, you know, you could document some of that stuff, you know, hey, here we are, we're doing this to the house today. You know, this is the wallpaper we're thinking about, or this is the color we're thinking about making this wall. What do you think? And then gauge it from
Sounds so
there.
easy, though.
What's that?
You make it sound so easy.
It is it's easy because I've been doing it a long time, but it will be easy once we step back and we really just take time and sit back, and it's like, okay, what do I know about myself? What do I really like? Like for me, like if you go through some of my content, like on my personal page and stuff, I have some main pillars, right? So I talk a little tiny bit about business, but I'm usually mostly, I love cooking. So I'm either showing things I cooked for me or my family, or new recipes. My men's ministry with doing that, showing more of that. And then, you know, as a family, we're really passionate about our dogs too. So starting to show a lot of stuff about our dogs. Yeah. And then I'm big on like motivation and quotes. So I'll throw some of that in there as well. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? A lot of head nodding. What are you ladies thinking back there? You guys look like trouble.
I'm gleaning important information from someone that does a really good job at what you talked about today.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, kind of help me out. Is there anything particular as we move forward in these weeks that you guys are really interested in knowing more about or learning? Put you on the spot. Don't be shy.
I guess it would be putting out the right content. So having ideas on what to create. So
Okay.
not the journey, but what, other than the journey, like what else could you possibly do? Obviously educational, but like, so how would you portray that in a way where it's not like boring, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely dive into some stuff. Thank you. I'll put some stuff together for that.
Hey, I'm gonna make sure and just say, because like some things they just don't know what to say. The Google My Business stuff. I don't think people realize what Google has always been just a fearful thing, because it's like I got to figure out how to get my SEO stuff up. But like now, Google My Business is becoming a kind of workaround for getting you some strength inside of that. So understanding and how to execute on Google My Business is a big deal.
Absolutely. We'll have a training on GMB.
GMB.
Just taking some notes here.
Like to see some ball skills. If you've got the Harlem Globetrotter thing in you.
Oh, okay. Well, so let me give, sure, I can share some things, but I'll give you more of the little bit of the backstory, right? So I was actually I signed the contract with them, but if you don't know, there's two teams there. There's the Globetrotters, and there at the time it was the Washington Generals. So I was signed to play with the Washington Generals. Now, if you're a Harlem Globetrotters fan, and this is going to be like the magician revealing the trick, you can leave the room now. But the majority of that stuff is staged. So they need two types of players. They need guys who, you know, have a high level of ball tricks, or they can jump really high. They don't necessarily have to be basketball players. And then they need a bunch of guys that actually know the game, are willing to listen, and then are don't have so much pride that if they're not selected to be an actual trick guy, that they'll go along with it and entertain the audience. So then what happens is when you go to a game, and you'll pay attention and you'll see this, it may not be as apparent, but they will have primarily a set of guys that do the tricks that come in, and then they go through different routines with the opposing team, the Generals. I don't know if they might be the Nationals now. And then they'll do that for like 2 minutes, and then they'll sub those guys out, and bring in the actual ball players for the Globetrotters. And then they'll actually be like a live game. The next 2 minutes will be actual live basketball. So it kind of keeps the people in the audience guessing as to, was that really supposed to happen? And then another thing is if you're on the Generals, every game they spot the Globetrotters 50 trick points. So a lot of show there.
Mike, was you supposed to give out that information?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Well, so you're telling me that you can't like spin 12 basketballs at one time?
I cannot spin 12 basketballs at one time. No.
Contract is canceled.
I can spin a basketball on all 5 fingers though, if that counts.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah,
Classic.
Are they small balls? How would you do that?
No, I'm at one ball, right? You start on one finger and then you go through all 5. And maybe around your neck, maybe around your arms.
I want you to work on this trick where you spin 5 balls all at the same time.
Okay,
Balls.
I'll work on that.
I don't think you can do it.
If they were little tiny balls, maybe.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That'd be much harder.
Did I hear someone else said they had a question?
I had a
All right, cool.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I noticed on Heather's Facebook page, there was like an Instagram, it almost looked like a channel or of some sort on her profile page.
Like a channel on her profile page.
It was like a link to her Instagram.
Oh yeah,
or
on the
something.
left-hand side. Yep. Mm-hmm.
How do you put that in there? Or is that just a link?
No, yeah, you should be able to go. I probably have to go to my account in a second. Yeah, so are you logged into your Facebook account?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go to your profile and then you go to edit profile.
You can find this later.
Yeah, he's recording.
Okay.
Actually, I'll share this with everybody so they can see it as well. Back out of this, but yeah, if you go to your profile and you click on edit profile and then you scroll down under customize your intro, you can put links in there for your Instagram page or whatever else you want to link to.
Oh, okay. I see add links. Maybe that's what it was. Because it had the little Instagram icon
Yeah.
on there.
Mhm.
Okay. I see it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question. All right. Any other questions? Cool. Well, I want to honor you guys' time. I know we're about 4 minutes over. So I will start to work on some of the things that people brought up. But next week not next week, in 2 weeks, we're going to take a deeper dive into understanding your ideal client and what that looks like and what goes into that. And these guys, these are the things these are the fundamentals. And these are what most everybody skips over because they're not super sexy. But once you understand this, your content and your messaging and the way that you go about putting yourself out there is 100 times more powerful. So it's extremely important that we go through that.
Hey, Mike, as you sign off, could you send me some homework that I could get to these guys just so they have a high level of being prepared for next week? Would that be kosher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
All right, just making a note of that.
So it's next week or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But yeah, so for the next week.
Next week, okay.
And then real quick, Randy, if this is a conversation we got to have, how do you want to handle the one-on-ones? Do you want me to just send a link and you'll distribute it to your people, or?
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm down for whoever wants to jump in. I obviously just need to keep an eye on the budget.
Okay.
So yeah, just keep me connected.
Yep, sure will.
All
right. Well, thank you everybody for your time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just look me up on Facebook, send me a message, and I'll help you out however I can.
All right, sweet man. Thanks,
Thanks, Mike.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Toodles.
Great job.